Alright, so here's the controllers. Everything you're gonna need will be in the description if I can find every link. If not, I will tell you exactly what you're gonna need. Is two 48 volt controllers, 30 amps, a throttle with a key and a voltmeter, and a little bit of wire, some extra wiring, and then you're going to get a kit that has these waterproof connections and crimper and stripper for making the connections and everything else, ripping apart wire and shit. And basically, yeah, you'll be able to make this thing plug and play. I have removed my entire wiring and like all the harnessing and everything like that. So unfortunately, I got no display right now, and the headlight and brake light and like shit don't work at the moment. But I have the solution already for that in the works. A buddy of mine is 3D printing a thing to put right here, and then I'll be clipping a 12 volt drill battery in there, and that will run all of the external shit separately, so the batteries aren't being drained from that stuff. Even though it's a minimal drain, it's just whatever, why bother? So I figured I would do that, and instead of wiring it up into here and shit and just dealing with more stuff, I really just wanted to get it going initially. So I kind of went the half-ass way doing this, and then figured I would deal with that after. So if you don't want to get into losing your display, losing your lights, then this isn't for you. But I will have a future video where I'll show you how I set up the drill battery to run the accessories. It's incredibly easy, and it'll cost no more than $20 to set up if you have drill batteries kicking, and then you might have to buy one if you don't. But yeah, anyways, going forward from there, you're gonna need a throttle that has a voltmeter and a key. If not, you can get like a switch or a button pretty much to turn on the shit to replace the key, and you don't need a voltmeter. So, and you can use whatever throttle you want. But if you're going to use the voltmeter, then follow the step that I talk about with the voltmeter. If you're going to use a key, follow that. And if not, then you're going to be using a button or a switch. Just replace what I say about the key with that. So basically, the controller will come with all of your connections labeled. It's probably kind of hard to see, but it's labeled in there under the motor's connection. But like the controllers all had labels on them. Everything was labeled, so you'll know what the throttle is. You'll know what the hall sensor is. You'll know everything. This is the only connection that can go into the hall anyway, so it's pretty basic. But then, so the hall, this is rear motor is right here. This is the rear motor controller, and it goes to the rear motor. Hall motor or hall sensor setup, and then the phase wires are just set up according to color: blue to blue, yellow to yellow, green to green. You can set these up however you want, like connecting them however you want. I just went and I got a thing of like a 6-pack of bullet connectors that were like, I think $2 or something stupid, or $1. And the bullet connectors on the stock motor connections, just plunk right in there, no problem, super easy to set up. I just crimped them on there, set them up very easy. And this right here is for your voltmeter. So basically all you're going to be setting up, the only things you're setting up really are these. Like, this is your motor that's getting connected, and then there's going to be thick red and thick black wire that comes off of the controller. Those will be connecting to your positive and negative on the battery. And obviously that'll be on both controllers. The red thick and the black thick wires will be connecting to your battery. So you will be running, if you want a voltmeter, a splice off of your throttle. So basically right in here, if I can get this to focus, yeah, there we go. So the blue, the green, the red, and the black are going to be your throttle wires. So this is what's coming in off of my throttle. So the blue is a wire that runs separately over here, and the red is spliced off in right here, in where it's taped, and it comes in, like I did this kind of half-assed because it doesn't need to be done perfectly in these sections. You can just splice by twisting wires together and covering them up with some heat wrap and electrical tape. So I did that, and then so it splices off the red wire of your throttle. The red wire of your throttle splices off, and it goes to a connection. Okay, so I have it going to a connection. That way I have the throttle being able to be unplugged and not like jerry rigged or whatever. And that's a single pin connector, and it's going in to connect to the battery. So it splices in onto the red on the battery. So this right here, red, is spliced off, and it's connect, and it goes, and then this cable down here runs to the red on the battery. And so then now you have like a loop, I guess is what it looks like, but it's not. It's just because of where it is. It's all tied in here, and like just where it's positioned. But this comes red, comes off, and connects, and goes off and goes down and connects into the battery, and that'll give you your voltage meter. You don't need to do that if you're not going to bother with a voltage meter. This doesn't matter. You're not going to splice off the throttle at all. And then so the throttle will go into a 3-pin connector with the red, the green, and the black, and then that'll connect to the throttle connector on the controller, the red, the green, and the black. And then I have a thing that comes out from the green, so it looks like it's coming in from the black, but you can kind of tell, yeah, it's in the center there. It doesn't come in from the black slot on the right. It actually comes in from the center because it's connected to the green, which is your signal wire. And so your signal wire is coming off, and I have a connection that goes to the other controller. And then same as the blue wire right there, the blue wire from the throttle that I was talking about, it goes to a single pin, and then that goes off and splices into 2 different spots. And so this is just kind of like a little weird little connector harness that I've made out of extra wiring. And so that connects to the blue on your throttle, goes over, connects to the red, and it's like a red thick cable on your controller. It's not as thick as the batteries, negative or positive or whatever it is, so you won't get it mixed up, but it's thicker a little bit than like the other wires, like, you know, the thinner little red wires that you'll see on the controller. Plus it's the only red wire that'll be by itself, so you'll know that that is the one that you're going to connect that blue wire to of your throttle. And then it also needs to connect to the red on this controller. So both controllers will be set up to the blue on your throttle, and then your green will also be set up to the green on both. Like, so it'll be set up fully where it's red, green, and black on the one controller, but then you only need the green to splice off and go to the second controller. But in order to set up both controllers, you will have to make it so this second controller can have, if you notice, I have red, black, and green on the receiving end for the controller, so that way when I plug the throttle into it, I can plug it in like fully to it by itself, and run it by itself, and run it by itself, because you have to auto learn on both controllers, then hook them up together. So I have this able to be hooked up to the throttle fully, and then I have, like I said, a little looping wire, like a little wiring harness thingy that I've made that comes from this. It's a 3-pin connector, but it's only a single pin, and it's the green signal wire. It's a blue wire. Yes, I used blue because I had a blue wire extra kicking around, but this is a green signal wire that's in the center, right? Green signal wire, and then you got the black and red. But the green signal wire, it comes and it goes up, and like I said, it comes in and it connects into here, and that's how the 2 throttles are connected, and that's how both motors receive signal and both controllers receive signal to, like when you twist the throttle, to go. And then the blue wire is how both controllers are going to turn on when you flip the switch. So yeah, either the switch or the key, like button, whatever you're going to be using. That'll be the blue wire on your throttle will connect to both of those. And then the red, black and green are just your primary throttle wires. The green is your signal wire, and it needs to splice off, or like it needs its own, splice off and little wire to go to this controller as well, the green wire on its throttle. And so you're gonna run auto learn on both controllers. The white wires right here, very thin little white wires, there's gonna be 2 on each controller. So you're going to hook them up when you're doing auto learn on one. So for instance, when I set up everything, I set up this controller by itself. I made it so the throttle is hooked up. This is not connected to run to the second controller. And then all I do is I just disconnect, I disconnect this wire down here. So I just disconnect this here from the controller as well. So then that controller won't turn on, nor will it receive the signal from the throttle. And then, so it's just separate, right? These little wiring harness thingies that I made to be able to connect the second controller to this controller aren't set up, nor is it set up to the battery. It's just chilling at the moment, waiting to be hooked up. And then this one, first controller will get set up. You will plug in your throttle to it, right? Just like normal. And then the motor wires, and you'll hook up your batteries, positive and negative. And the blue wire that came from your throttle, or like I said, if it's a separate button switch thing that you're going to use or whatever, that'll be that wire. That needs to be hooked up to the single controller. So like it goes and yes, it loops over down and goes into the second controller over here, but you're just going to need just this controller. So think of this as from here, it goes directly into the controller's red wire. So that blue wire will turn that controller on only, and then the power will remain on and like activate technically, like it sends the signal to turn it on, like a button, like a key, whatever. But the thing that keeps it powered on is the battery. That's why you need the red and black, obviously, on the battery to be connected. Very straightforward. And then obviously the throttle and the phase wires and hall sensor. And then you're gonna connect the little white cables like these little teeny white things together. And if the motor's spinning forward, then you're just gonna leave it for 30 seconds to a minute, because that means it's already set in the right direction. It auto-learned right away the right direction, and it's good to go. You're gonna let it run for 30 seconds to a minute and then disconnect them, and that's it. You're gonna leave them. That controller is fully done now. If they're spinning backwards, like if the motor's spinning backwards when you give throttle, that means that you need to just unplug and then plug them back in. It'll start spinning forward, and then you will let that run for 30 seconds to a minute. It'll finish its auto learn, and you're good to go. You need to have your bike elevated when you're doing auto learn, obviously, because it's gonna spin the wheel automatically. You don't touch the throttle or anything when you're doing that. It will just automatically do it as soon as you plug these wires together. The wheel will just start to spin to try to like learn the diagnostics and everything else. And so make sure your bike is up on a stool or whatever else. And then so that first controller will be done. And then you're gonna do the same thing to the second controller. You're not gonna set them up to each other. What you're gonna do is you're gonna act as if you're setting up it all over again, like this, all over again, but on this one, right? And so what you're gonna do is you will set up your throttle, instead of it being connected, so the throttle's here, instead of it being connected to this piece that goes to this controller, you're gonna connect it to that piece. And that's why I had the black and red and green there. And then you will connect, instead of this blue throttle signal wire, where it goes and loops and goes over to this controller, right? You'll unhook this piece, and then this goes down, and you'll hook that one up. And then these will hook up to the battery as well. And then so what you will end up doing is you'll end up turning this controller on with the flip of the key instead of this one. And then you will again plug the fucking wires in to auto learn, and that'll be on the front motor instead of the rear. And if it's going forward, you're good. If it's going backwards, just unplug, plug them back in, do it. And then once both are set running forward and auto learn is complete on both, that will be when you will connect your signal wire, or sorry, that will be when you disconnect the throttle from that controller and plug it back in here. And then you're going to use the spliced signal wire right here, right? And you'll connect those, and then you'll connect this piece back. So that way both controllers are going to turn on, and both controllers will receive signal from the throttle when you give it a twist. So I think that should be it. If I missed anything, you guys can definitely hit me up. I believe I went over how the lights aren't connected at the moment, but it will be a very, very, very easy setup. Trust me. I've done it on a couple other bikes, and it's helpful in the long run if you're going to be running at nighttime, if you're going to have, you know, any extra accessory lights. If you want to maybe put a bigger, brighter light or anything like that, then you don't need to worry about it draining off your main source of power, right? Because battery is everything when it comes to bikes, e-bikes, and everything. You need the range. And so having just a secondary source, a drill battery for lights and shit, is amazing. And they last a long time because you're only running lights and shit like that off them. So you're good to go. I think this should be it. Basically, the only thing I don't think I showed yet was, so the cable that comes off of the housing for the stock battery. So the way that this stock battery connects to the controllers is this housing, right? And so there's a cable that comes up, and it goes in, and it goes up and into there. And there was whatever connections to the old controllers. But I've replaced those with XT60s. So now I have XT60s that I can just quick unplug. So basically this right here, this little Y, is the cable that connects to the battery for both controllers. That's why it Y's out. So that'll go to one controller for the positive and negative, right? To connect the battery to its positive and negative on here. And then this one will do the same thing to go to the positive and negative on the other one. And basically all you have to do is just unplug this, and then this will just chill right here, like floating. And that's the hookup for the stock battery. And then I have some wires. This is again why I said to get extra wire, where I have these wires. They're all braided up and really nice, but it's just positive and negative, and goes to XT60 to XT60, male and female. And then you hook those up, run these wires down in through, and then now I can set my 52 volt battery in there, or my other 48 volt battery in there, and I can hook that up. Any battery I want. Like I've got a spare battery from my Mototech over there. I've got to buy a battery that was from that broken scooter that I'm using, a 52 volt battery. So it's really nice. I've got it set up so you can utilize any batteries, quick swap shit around, plug and play essentially the controller, and like do testing and fucking swap parts or whatever. Like if you need to swap a controller out or change your throttle or anything like that, it should be very easy with all the waterproof connectors and all the things that I've told you to get. And it's honestly, it wasn't that much work. Like I know it seems like a lot, and when you start, you might feel like you're getting in over your head. But trust me, it's very, very rewarding. And it only took me a few hours, and I didn't ever do any connectors ever prior to this. All my prior work and shit, I honestly just went super stupid and ghetto with it and just twisted everything together and put shrink wrap and fucking electrical tape on them and stuff and just left it for good. And this is a much better setup. Very easy to deal with, very clean. plenty of room to get that second battery in there, even though there's a controller floating. And you can even move that. Like I originally put it back here, but then you couldn't pull this stock battery in and out. So I put it there. You could maybe put it more forward. It just depends. It's all preference. You could even put it right here. It would actually probably work really nice right there. I might even consider moving it down there and getting some longer cables to do that, so then I could run the cables down and have it chill right there. And then it's out of the way of everything, and I have plenty of room to have a triangle battery here, or my square battery, or my long battery, like whatever. It's whatever you can do and whatever you imagine, but this was the cheapest, easiest option. Everything all said and done is going to cost you no more than $75 to $100 US, and that's for the throttle with key and voltmeter. Like, so that's a good throttle, really nice throttle response and everything else too on it. Like, super, super nice. I highly suggest this throttle. Comes with an extra grip for the other side too that matches, so it looks nice. And then you just need the two controllers, a set of these waterproof connectors with a crimper and stripper if you want to make it like super easy to take apart and deal with, and whatever else. If not, you can just twist the shit together and do whatever. All you need is a little extra wire, but that's it. It's like very, 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 very simple. It seems like a lot when you've never dealt with any of this stuff before, but I can help anyone out who's never done this shit and they're newbie as hell. Anything you need, just let me know. I'll help. Whatever, I can make some maybe more videos if you need. But it's really easy. A lot of it's color coordinated and size, and then if you make connections, you can make it all according to how you want, and you can put tape on certain ones to label them. You can get wiring in different colors to make sure that everything's color matched and whatever. If you really want to go that extreme, you can use more connectors instead of going kind of half-ass how I did with certain splices and shit like that, because they just weren't necessary. But you can do whatever you want with this and make it like yours, essentially. I'm not trying to sell any plug-and-play kits or, upcharge people and lie to people or any BS. I'm just trying to help out whoever, and I know a lot of people out there have been interested in doing similar things like this, and this has helped me go from, I want to say, 30 to 35 miles per hour max, obviously, to a definite, like, guaranteed steady 40, maybe 40 plus. And when I'm using my 52 volt battery, because it's a little more volts, like I'm kind of overvolting everything, it gives me a little more speed. Definitely a little more speed for sure out of the 52 volt. If you ran a 52 or a 60 volt battery on these controllers, on this setup, you're looking at easy 40 to 45 miles per hour, which for $100 or whatever, and like a little bit of time and shit, maybe 3, 4, 5 hours if you really get stuck and can't figure certain things out, or it's your first time dealing with certain things, it's well worth it. It is well worth it, because everything else is going to cost you into the hundreds, into the thousands, whereas this is pretty much chump change. You're not going to find anything cheaper to make your bike that much better. And I find that getting that extra 5 to 10 miles per hour out of it is 100 times better. Plus being able to have the ability to use not just the stock batteries, but other batteries sourced from other things, and just whatever, it just opens up the doors. So hopefully this helped everybody. I know this was a super long video, but it's one of the first I've made. I tried to do it quickly, but I wanted to go over everything and make sure it was done proper to help and make sure that you guys could follow along and get this done on your own. So hopefully everyone watching stays tuned to the end. Drop me a like, leave any comments if you need help. I'm going to try to find all the links and post them up in the description of the video, And the people on Facebook that'll be seeing this, because I'll be posting it in the Emove roadrunner groups and stuff. You guys, I will post the links and screenshots and things like that of all of the parts that are needed, which wasn't many. It was the 2 controllers, which are the same controller, and then a little bit of wire, and the connectors, and crimper, stripper, and the throttle. So the crimper stripper with the connectors was, I believe, $25 Canadian. So that's like 15 American. And that was $25 Canadian or $30 Canadian. So 15, $20 American. And these were 30 or $35 each Canadian. So 20, $25 American. So in total, you're looking at no more than $100, $75 to $100, and that's including tax. Like, that was off Amazon. Everything came in a day or two and cost fuck all. Like, it was fuck all, and then it just took me a few hours of work. So hopefully this is gonna help you all. Thank you, and peace out.